So we've shown some coverage of the annual Al Smith dinner where presidential candidates gather to tell jokes to each other. It's all for a Catholic charity. They do it every single year. We showed you how Kamala Harris avoided attendance at this dinner, that the same mistake that Walter Mondale made, that same mistake in the 80s. It cost him the entire election. I don't think that was the actual thing that cost him the election. I think that was, campaigning on raising taxes. Good for him. That's definitely a winning campaign slogan for people struggling already. But this is definitely a mistake for Kamala Harris to not attend this. She did a pre-recorded message, which is just an absolute disaster. And now we get to the main act, because at least Donald Trump attended this. Just how Donald Trump also attended the Coalition for Black Journalists event, where Kamala Harris was also supposed to attend that. She never showed up to it. Donald Trump at least did. And here's Donald Trump doing his, I guess, best top 5 at this dinner, cracking jokes not only at Kamala, not only after your presidential campaign opponent, but also just the general policy and the general elite forum that cultivates within this dinner. Listen to this. This is his top 5.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz. Well, I'd better wrap up because Mayor Adams told me earlier that I needed to make this one very quick, especially the city has reserved this room for a large group of illegal aliens coming in from Texas. There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Oh. See, hearing that joke, I think it's almost kind of like a shot to, our good old pal Destiny there. Not to throw any names around, but, you get the picture, right?
A major issue in this race is child care, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep them away. That's a nasty one. Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
Oh. Look at Chuck Schumer. He looks so uncomfortable. Oh, someone get him some chocolate lax or something. It looks like he's trying to hold in his bowels as much as possible. Orange guy's on stage. Oh, they make jokes about truth. He's trying to hold it together, folks. He's trying to hold it together. But that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. And again, this is who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is kind of like, I view him now as almost like the character from Caddyshack, Rodney Dangerfield's character, where he goes into, the Bushwell Country Club, and even though he's a predominant billionaire, he's a success, much like any other billionaire that you see on stage here. He doesn't fit into the character. He doesn't fit into the, the same value structure and the same molding as any other billionaire that's cultivated within the country club. And the same goes with politics. That's why they hate him so much. That's why they detest him so much. Not because he governs any differently. I mean, you're talking to the same guy who also gave tax breaks to the 1%. He gave tax breaks to billionaires and trillionaires. He also may have not started any wars, but also continued a lot of the wars that are continuing on. He hasn't backpedaled on that. And even though he was one of the predominant voices to actually call out why we're in Syria, why we're in Afghanistan, he shook hands with Kim Jong-un, which I thought was impressive for any leadership anywhere in the world to actually have some sort of negotiation or some sort of diplomacy, back and forth conversation to, Kim Jong-un, North Korea. I thought that was amazing. That had to take Donald Trump to do that. But he still sided a lot with the military-industrial complex. He still sided with the deep state. He still sided with a lot of the same establishment crap. The only reason that they despise him and had to come up with so many charges and try to assassinate him twice and all the convictions, all the, legal battles and the lawfare that they did against him, raiding Mar-a-Lago, all that is because he is the Rodney Dangerfield of politics. He doesn't fit into the traditional mold where he's going to screw you over with a smile on your face. He's going to be, a bit corny. He's going to, make some jokes. He's going to walk in there and say, this room is so stuffy. It's like my wife's bra at Christmas dinner. What? You can't laugh at that? You must be a couple squares. I just get no respect. No respect. And that's who Donald Trump is in politics. And that's what makes him such a watchable, viewable candidate. That's why he always brags about, his viewership and ratings during rallies and his campaign contributions and stops. The reason he's so popular with those people is because he is kind of the mockery of the political system. He is mocking the very insides. Like when Donald Trump made that statement at the debate, or it was the town hall with Hillary Clinton, saying that, the whole political system is corrupt, and I know it because I'm part of it. I got in because of how corrupt it is. Like, who else can you think of? Any candidate, any member of Congress, any member anywhere in the White House to say those same exact words? Like, not even AOC says those words. Not even Bernie Sanders says those words. The same guy who told us for years we got to start a revolution and we got to cultivate together outside the establishment. We got to do a rainbow coalition of workers to overthrow the establishment, the status quo. Bernie Sanders wouldn't even do that. But Donald Trump did. Donald Trump did. And they despise that so much. They despise him because of that. That's why they show his endless tweets on CNN. That's all they have is to pick on Donald Trump because he doesn't fit into the mold. He's the Rodney Dangerfield character putting on a charade of how grotesque this system is. And just how gross this system is and how disconnected it is with people. And yes, he may be part of that same group. He went to the same weddings and all their kids are best friends and they golfed with each other constantly. But the reason they truly despise a man like him, even though they're best friends and he was brought up through the establishment because of them, the only reason they hate Donald Trump so much is because he doesn't fit into that mold, that, same kind of cultivizing, cult-like molds, that kind of mind control mindset that every other billionaire has been a part of. And they don't want him in this country club ruining the sanctity of their organization. And that's what he's doing. Donald Trump is throwing rocks and stones into the glass doors of this elegant society that they propped up for years. And now you got someone who's causing mayhem to their whole stature, the whole status quo. You're wrecking the essence of the country club. It's like everywhere is Judge Smales, and he is Rodney Dangerfield. That's what it comes down to. So let's play this again in full because it was kind of funny.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz. Well, I'd better wrap up because Mayor Adams told me earlier that I needed to make this one very quick, especially the city has reserved this room for a large group of illegal aliens coming in from Texas. There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. A major issue.
They must be in the hospital, the ER rooms with all the carburetors they've been eating raw steak, right? That's what they were told by Kamala Harris's campaign, right? I'm a man. I eat those carburetors. I eat raw beef. I do the most manly things. I even cried at Love Actually. I'm a man. I vote for corrupted women just as much as a corrupted man.
Issue in this race is childcare, and Kamala has put forward a concept of a plan. A lot of people don't like it. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband, Doug, anywhere near the nannies. Just keep him away. That's a nasty one. Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum.
That's in reference to there's allegations that Kamala Harris's husband physically abused and assaulted with his first wife before meeting Kamala. His first wife, their nanny, and there's a whole lovely story to that.
Doesn't it look glum? It looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
What can I say? When you got smug, asshole, ignorant people like them, Donald Trump does bring a bit of a party to a situation like that. Like, as much as you hate him, as much as people they love to hate him, and that's by design by the establishment, but even so, he is that colorful character in those kind of movies like Caddyshack that exposes the smugner and arrogance of people in this establishment. People like Chuck Schumer, people like Michael Bloomberg, people like Kamala Harris, people like Tim Walz, people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and all of them. And the only reason they hate a character like Donald Trump so much, even though they loved him for years, the reason they hate him so much is because now he is in position, he is welcome to the country club, and he's mocking and screwing up the sanctity of the country club within. And they don't like that. They want to keep and preserve their ivory towers. They don't want the plebes and the peasants to know how disgusting, how awful, how ignorant, and out of touch they are with general society. And they definitely don't want to hear it from Donald Trump's voice.